Hi there, my name is Dom Schott. I'm a journalist and I was invited by Mooneye Studios here in the heart of Hamburg to look at their newest game Ikuma. So I would say, let's ask some questions. Ikuma is a narrative adventure set in the 1800s in the Arctic and looks quite fascinating to me. I'm welcomed by Tobias, who is creative director of the game Ikuma and one of the founders of Mooneye Studios. I'm really looking forward to meeting him. Moin!
Hi! Nice to
Hi.
meet you. Hi. Yeah, come in.
Wonderful. So what do you actually do in the game?
So the core gameplay basically is still similar to Lost Ember, an exploration adventure. So it is based around exploring the world, finding its secrets, and following a story. Ikuma is more open world than Lost Ember. So the main part of the game is like an open world on this Arctic island, and you have to use not only different tools and instruments that you find on this island to just reach different areas, but also work together with your dog. And only together can you manage to survive on this island. Either just alone and switching between these two, so you can freely switch between Sam and his dog Ellie. Or, as I mentioned, in co-op, and you can play with a friend. Mm-hmm. And one person will play Sam and the other Ellie, and together you solve not really heavy puzzles, but light environmental puzzles and progress through the story.
Yeah. Would you say it's a hard game or a comforting game?
I would say it's more of a comforting game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are light survival aspects to it. You have to find food and shelter for warmth and stuff like that. But it's never super hard to do that. It's more a driving story element than really like a punishing hard game mechanic.
I find it's a very special and unusual game regarding the setting and the idea of it. How did you come up with it? What inspired you to make this game?
The initial inspiration came from a real-life historical event, the Franklin expedition of 1845. I don't know if you're familiar, but it was an Arctic expedition led by this famous explorer and started in the 1800s, as I said. They went out to find the Northwest Passage, like a way through the Arctic for trade. And they completely vanished. No one heard from them ever again. And it was basically a huge mystery for 150 years. And only in 2014 and in 2017 were the two ships found. And that's when we basically got invested in this story, when these ships were found, and immediately thought, okay, this would be like a cool setting for a game. And then it kind of developed from there.
So how did you stumble upon that historic expedition? Are you a history geek or?
Not really, I don't know. I think it was just a random article somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, I read into it and found it fascinating.
And how do you go from, I find an article interesting, to let's develop a game and put money into it, time and energy?
I mean, that was a longer process, and we only started about 3 years after this initial, there is something. But after we finished Lost Ember in 2019, we started talking about what we wanted to do next, and we had a list of, I don't know, 15 or 20 ideas, and this was one of them. And then, we just talked about which of these concepts we found most interesting, and I started going into more detail about this one, and then it just stuck with us, basically.
Yeah.
It was just, we talked for a couple of months about, okay, what we want to do, and this would be the concept that we all could imagine a cool, bigger game around. Yeah, so it just developed organically from that initial idea, I guess.
Yeah. As you already mentioned, your game centers around the historic expedition as well as the cultural artifacts of the indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, how did your research for this game look like? Did you go into libraries, reading books a lot?
Yeah, we read a lot of books about not only the historical events, the Franklin expedition, but also Inuit culture, Inuit people, and the mythology especially. So yeah, I would say the first year of development or concept finding was mostly just research and see what elements are there that we found interesting or fascinating and we could weave into the story.
To me, Ikuma looks like a very dreamy game, a dream-like game, but it sounds like there is a darker side to it, to the actual game.
Yes, there is, certainly. But yeah, Ikuma, it's not like a dark game per se.
Yeah.
It's still an emotional, just coming of age story, but sprinkled in are these darker elements and these dark images that you as the protagonist have to face basically and come to peace with, and yeah, exactly. So the overall positive story and nice and dreamy environment is sliced open by a couple of darker episodes. Yeah, exactly.
And I've heard beforehand that you found a way to bring your German roots into the game as well,
yeah,
which is quite surprising to me. How did you manage to do that?
Yeah, well, in just a very small way, but this Franklin expedition that I mentioned in Ikuma, you follow an expedition like that, and you are one of a team of people trying to look for a lost expedition. And in our game, it was not led by Franklin, but by Captain Humboldt, which is a famous German explorer. So,
why was that important to you? To sprinkle that German.
I don't know. I think it wasn't really important as such, but it was just a nice little touch to make it a little more personal.
Which aspect of the game did you find especially hard to make? Especially hard.
Especially hard to make, I guess. I would say it probably would be these darker elements of the Inuit curse and weaving that into a story that felt natural and organic and not too different and not take you out of the main game too much. So finding a right balance of breathtaking, beautiful scenes and dark elements and weaving that into a story that makes sense and felt natural. I'd say that was the one thing that we changed a lot and had to iterate on a lot. And this curse, what this curse is, that changed, I don't know, 20 times probably, and just making that make sense, that was probably the hardest part.
Yeah, and on the other hand, which part was especially easy to make? Where you all could say, okay, let's do it that way, that will work, that's cool.
Probably just the decision that you have to have a dog as a companion. Like that was, it didn't initially start out as a co-op game even, but that was a very early idea that we always thought, okay, especially after Lost Ember and making a game around a bunch of animals, we had to like include some kind of animals in this game as well. So pretty early on we decided to add this dog companion and to make it a playable character, and even having it like a co-op option in the game. That was always the one thing that we said, okay, it has to be a story of a boy and a dog that together form a bond, basically.
Is there any connection to the fact that you do have a studio dog?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, really?
Well, we have up to 3 of these dogs, I would say.
Yeah.
Mostly just 1 or 2, but 3 of our team do have dogs, and I had a dog, a family dog, back when I lived with my mother. So we're all big dog people, and we of course had to include that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of making the game, you've mentioned before that you used special instruments for the soundtrack. Could you elaborate that?
Yeah, that is one thing that we found on the research of just Inuit culture. Music in general plays a big part in that culture and in like community gatherings. And one instrument that they use besides just drums and rhythmic elements is the tautirot, which is kind of like a kind of violin, I would say. And yeah, when we researched that, we stumbled upon a person who sells these instruments. So initially, we immediately bought one and just wanted to see what we could do with that. And yeah, our sound guy, who makes all the music and stuff for Ikuma and also the trailer, used that instrument, the tautirot, to make various like different sounds and layers and add this to the soundtrack to give it a kind of natural and more real feel.
Yeah. So putting all things together, you told me your game feels quite like taking a risk because it's such a unique and uncommon game, such a unique setting. Does it feel like taking a risk?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, making a game is always a risk, I would say, but yeah, especially if you make a game for 5 years, or in the end it will be 6 years, and you put a lot of time and work and money in the end into it. It's always a risk, of course, and with this, like telling an emotional, personal story is always a kind of risk as well, because you don't know if it'll resonate with people and if we can transport these emotions to people. So yeah, it's definitely a risk, and I hope it'll work out in the end. Yeah. But that's why we were extremely nervous about this announcement and this, like, finally showing the world, this is what we've been working on and this is what we've been pouring our hearts into. And yeah, I'm really nervous to see the reactions of the world.
Yeah. What do you wish for people saying after they played your game? What would you like to stuck with them?
After they played our game, I think like the one idea that we want people just to take with them after the game is to believe in yourself. Like, one core element of the story is that our protagonist Sam, he grew up an orphan on the streets of London, and he didn't really have any kind of self-esteem. He didn't feel like he was worth anything. And through the story and through the companions he meets on the way, he starts to believe in himself and believe he can have an actual future with someone and find love even. So yeah, that's the core driving story element, I would say. Just believe in yourself.
A question I was wondering all the time while I was traveling to your studio: how did you guys actually meet? The guys of the studio?
Well, we met in university, where we studied game development, a Games Master program here in Hamburg. And our first project, Lost Ember, started out as our final project from university. And while we developed it, we realized, okay, we have something here, and founded the company around that, basically. Yeah.
Have you always wanted to be or to become a developer? What inspired you to pursue that career?
Yeah, it kind of always was my dream job as a child. So when I was, I don't know, 10 or 11 or something like that, I already had this goal of, okay, someday I will make my own games and create my own worlds, and I just never stopped pursuing that.
What exactly happened when you were 10 or 11 years old, so that you thought, okay, that's my career, that's I want to become?
I think the project that really started it was Zelda Ocarina of Time. That was my all-time favorite game as a kid, and I just wanted to create worlds like that, basically.
So how did your way into the industry look like? Did you already mentioned that you studied here in Hamburg? Mm-hmm. When did you start studying and when did you finish your studies?
I started with the computer science studies in 2010 it was. for the bachelor, and then yeah, I already specialized. You could like choose different paths in the program exactly, and I already started choosing all the game-related options, and then they had this game development master's program to really focus on games and not all the other computer science stuff. And yeah, then that started in 2014, and that's when I met the other guys, and we founded Mooneye.
Yeah, and you published your first game, Lost Ember, in 2019, which became an award-winning and best-selling game. And here's a tricky question for you. I was already wondering also why I was on my way here. Despite the fact that it was such a hit, your first game, did you make any mistakes along the way while developing that game, which you now said, okay, let's not do this again. Let's try to learn from these mistakes for developing your new game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we certainly made a lot of mistakes, and I guess that's unavoidable developing games. And I probably would say we have made a lot of other mistakes with this new game. But yeah, there were a lot of things that we set out to not do again with the next game, and for example, just the reason why we started marketing this game so late this time. With Lost Ember, we started basically from the first day on. We posted concept art and whatever on socials, but the game changed a lot over time, and the initial art style wasn't the final one, and the initial characters didn't end up in the game. And still, even after release, we saw a lot of like press articles and posts using the very old art with the wrong characters. So that was one thing that we said, okay, this time we only start really marketing the game when we know how it'll look like.
Yeah.
And yeah, what else? I mean, when you develop a game for that long, like with Ikuma as well as Lost Ember, we already have been working for 5 years on that, and things change a lot. And the game that Ikuma is now probably is very different from the initial concept and the initial idea. So yeah, but this time I think the thing that we did better this time was just that we were aware of these changes to come, and we weren't afraid to just say, okay, let's just cut this and try it another way, because last time we tried to cling to certain elements for too long, and yeah.
Yeah. So your game is scheduled for 2026. What's left to do?
What's left to do? A lot of stuff. I mean, what we have at the moment is the world does exist. The world is there, and I would say the first act of the game is pretty much done, and the second act, this main part, is a lot of content is there, but a lot of content, and especially story content, like the dialogue, the cutscenes, and stuff like that, is still missing. And same with the third act, which is shorter, but still a lot of the actual content is there in pieces and elements, but not put together yet. So we have about a year left to do that and to put everything together, and then obviously test everything and hopefully not have too many bugs in it. But just fleshing out this content and putting it together, that's left to do.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any last words for the viewers out there?
Any last words?
You want them to know, you want to say to them, that's your chance now.
Well, I suppose, of course, if you liked the game, you liked what you saw, you can wishlist the game now on Steam, and you should also be able to wishlist on PlayStation. Follow us on whatever socials, TikTok, Blue Sky, or whatever, if you want to keep up with the game and the development. We will regularly post updates of the game, and if you have a dog, pet it for me.
Top, oder?